Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today we'll be doing some Care Bear restoration. I got this little pack from a vintage toy store. I paid £12 for it, so about $15, which is quite a good price. And the bag came with 4 Care Bears. These are the 1983 miniature Care Bears. I'll tell you a little bit more about them soon. The plan today is to make them look a little better and share some of the history and symbolism of Care Bears. Okay, let's get started. Like the title says, we're going to start with some bear analysis. This one here is a Bedtime Bear. Like I said, these are miniature Care Bears. They were released in the 80s and they were made of PVC or hard plastic. I keep looking down here because I was trying to find the brand, but it's actually in the back. And the year is 1983, by the way. So there were 3 main collections of toys. Oh, I want to talk about Care Bears. You know how my videos work. I'll tell you a little bit about Care Bears and then I might talk about the characters I'm showing you, or I will leave it in text on the screen so you can see. But what we got here are 4 miniature bears, like I said, from 1983. And I'm going to add a couple of bears I had bought in an eBay auction some time ago. So we're going to do 6 characters in total, though only one of them actually requires some restoration, the Bedtime Bear. But we need to deal with the stickiness anyway. Here is one of my boxes of shape where I have lots of projects I have to do. The other is a gem doll in there and some other things. A Cabbage Patch Kid. That's so difficult to say. Cabbage Patch Kid. And yeah, I had these 2 extra bears that we're going to add to our restoration queue. I'll try to remember to tell you what's happening on the screen, but in the meantime, let's jump into the history. No, that's very ambitious. A little bit, or a few facts about Care Bears, vintage Care Bears specifically, and then maybe modern ones. Basically, and this is all information you can find in the link I'm gonna leave, because I have a website about vintage toys that I'm starting to develop a little more. This was actually the first website I did like 15 years ago, and it had a different name. It was called The Geek Gift. Now it is called Retrogeek Toys because it's linked to what I am trying to do in this channel, which is talk a lot about vintage toys. And if you go there, you can find info about these toys we're going to be doing today, and also links to find them in secondhand markets and things like that. The Care Bears were actually created first for greeting cards. This was in 1981, and the cards were done by American Greetings. Lots of people don't actually know about these cards, and they're so beautiful. I personally think that they're one of the best products of the early 1980s. Yeah, I am prone to exaggeration. But I don't know, I think maybe because they weren't initially thought as toys or as a collectible thing, the art is so well done. The quality is really high, and one thing I really appreciate, because it was quite rare at the time in my opinion, was the use of white space. Like you have the characters, you have the text, and you have so much white space around things, so much air. The theme of the different bears having different personalities, and these personalities then being used as different cards, I think it was a great idea. Well done. Before we go back to the history of the toys, I just want to mention that some of these have been chewed, I think. So what we're going to do is a little re-sculpting. I'm going to use an X-Acto knife and I'm going to remove the areas that are the most chewed and then use some files and sandpaper to try to make it smooth again, and then we're going to paint over them. So there will be some, I don't know if we should call it sculpting or repairing, because it is going to be quite invasive, but I believe we can make it work. Hindsight. Continuing with our history. In 1983, I believe, American Greetings licensed the use of the Care Bears to Kenner. Kenner products, technically, but known as Kenner now, and at the time it was under management from Tonka. It was then purchased by Hasbro, but at the time it was Tonka. So, Kenner did 3 kind of lines of Care Bear toys using this American Greetings beautiful new creation. The first one was the plush toys, then there were the posable bears and the miniature bears. These little ones we're going to be working on today are the miniature versions. If memory serves me right, we have done a posable Care Bear restoration in the channel. a cheer bear, and I'm also thinking that I can't remember which one we did for a pony. We did a custom pony. I think the custom pony was a Lavalot. Anyway, the posable bears were all the characters in one pose, and you could move the limbs. And these miniatures, you couldn't move them, but there were different variants of each bear. Most of them had more than one variant. So if you're thinking of collecting this, you have to keep that in mind. And some of the variants will be more difficult to find than others. Generally speaking, they're not very expensive. They're around $10 each in okay condition. In condition like this one, probably less. Like you saw, I bought 4 of them for £12, but I think it was because this one was so damaged. But anyway, I think one of the issues if you're trying to collect these miniatures, like it happens with many vintage toys, is that because there are so few of some of the rarer variants, you might not be able to find one in pristine condition. So I thought I'll also make this video to show you some ways in which you can make them look a little better. I don't want to call this a restoration because it's not really a restoration. I don't know what to call it. We should come up with a new term for something that is between a restoration and a custom. Let's briefly talk about this character specifically. Like I said, this is Bedtime Bear. I'm laughing because I tried to record that so many times. I'll just leave it like that because I can't say it. So anyway, Bedtime Bear had 3 variants in the miniature version. These are sleeping with a pillow, ready for snooze, or napping with a nightcap. They all mark ACG 1983 on the back. And if we look at the card, and I want to also point out the cards are so pretty. Bedtime Bear says, "I'm the bear who keeps an eye on things while you're asleep. I make sure to nap during the day so when the sun goes down, I'm ready to go to work." And if we turn the card around, there is a little description of the line and then the 20 Care Bear miniatures that you could get, at least in this first release, because I see some missing here. Anyway, the description reads, "Care Bears are 10 roly-poly little bears who live high up in a land of rainbows and fluffy clouds called Carolot. They're always keeping an eye on things down on Earth, and whenever you want to share your feelings with others, they come right down to help. One look at their tummies helps you understand why they're so good at helping you express whatever you're feeling." This actually reminds me of a podcast episode I was listening to recently, which was about Sesame Street. We didn't have Sesame Street where I grew up in South America, so unfortunately I didn't get the benefit of that series, but Care Bears were very, very important in my development. And I think I used to watch sometimes the cartoon. I think it was on like public TV, and we also had some of the toys, although I don't think I owned any of the toys. But I do remember like how Care Bears in a way helped me start to understand, is that how you say it? Start understanding my own feelings, my own internal processes. Sesame Street was actually designed as an educational tool, and it was supposed to be free for everyone to watch. This changed when licenses had to move channels. Anyway, we're not gonna get into that, but the episodes were like designed to teach young children the alphabet, vocabulary, numbers, shapes, and like reasoning skills. One of the goals of the creators was actually to prepare young children, especially children from low-income families, for school. And different evaluations actually showed that the show could have like significant educational impact, both like cognitive skills but also affective skills. I think I should find a Sesame Street doll to repair, but anyway, going back to Care Bears, I feel like Care Bears in a way was my Sesame Street. Because they were designed to help kids understand emotions, and I had a lot of emotions. I still do, and like I mentioned in my previous videos, I believe the Care Bear videos, I had two big problems growing up. One was that I had trouble sleeping and I had very, very bad nightmares, so that's one group of problems. And the other one was that I have always struggled with anxiety and sadness and things like that. And before I could rely on books to try to sleep or control my anxiety, when I was younger, the first thing I had access to was Care Bears, and Care Bears was a huge tool for me to understand some of the things I was feeling. For example, as I was developing my imagination, one way to calm myself down when it was time to try to fall asleep well, I had my teddy bear on one arm, and I will imagine I was in this Lavalot place made of clouds, and that kind of brought me some relaxation. I think also, and I don't know, this is interesting because I have a form of synesthesia where I can kind of smell or taste certain colors, and it's usually pastel colors. But more than a smell or taste, it's like a feeling. It's very difficult to explain, but if you do experience any sort of synesthesia, you probably understand. And I was wondering, did I already have synesthesia and the pastel colors of the Care Bears brought me like this joy, or because I was struggling so much since I was so young and the Care Bears brought me comfort, did I develop that kind of synesthesia for pastel colors that make me feel nice things and nice flavors and nice smells? A question for the future. Another interesting point, and I was reading about this in a website from the University of Nottingham. It was written by Bryony Reeves. You can see the link below as well, and it is about the role that Care Bears played in young people who belong to the LGBTQA+ community. When I was investigating Care Bears for the site and for this video, I noticed that lots of them had like very fluid genders. Like sometimes it was a he, sometimes it was a she, sometimes they had pink accessories, or then the accessories would be light blue, and they were voiced by male and female voice actors. And this is not something I'm gonna go into detail in this video, although I do plan to talk about it, about gender expression, my own gender expression and gender investigation, I guess. But I feel that this fluidity that the bears have is very close to how I personally feel about my own gender expression. But yeah, we're not gonna get into that now. But if this is the reason why you also love Care Bears, then please know that I get it and I love it too. Oh, by the way, the time has come to try to fix wonky brush. It's not gonna be as wonky as it has been in the past, but it is still my favorite brush. Since we're here and I got a little nervous about the previous topic, I'll just tell you a bit about what we will be doing here. I'm going to be using acrylic paints to retouch the symbols. The idea is not to cover the existing paint, but just to cover the little holes in it that are distracting. Like I said, I don't want to call this a restoration. I don't want to call this a repaint. Maybe it's like a glow up sort of thing. And I thought a lot about maybe we can customize this in some way, but I feel they're still in quite good condition. I don't want to like make them lose all their value as original toys. The Bedtime Bear definitely needs a little help though, so we're going to mostly focus on that one, but I'm going to show you the process for the other ones as well, so you might get some ideas on how to retouch some of your own Care Bears. And once this part is done, I'm going to apply a coat of glossy varnish. This is going to kind of unify the colors, so the original colors and the new colors kind of look the same texture. But now I'm gonna leave you with some music for the painting part, and I will see you in the next section. I hope you enjoy. Alright, it's time to look at the Care Bears before. They were very sticky and Bedtime Bear was particularly chewed. But after some cleaning, some retouching and some re-glossy varnishing, here we have the lineup of our miniature vintage Care Bears. Let's look at them in a little more detail. Like I said, not a restoration, not a customization, something in between. Just a nice thing to do and think about feelings and tolerance and kindness and all the nice things that we believe in. One thing I forgot to mention before that is quite I think a positive thing about these figures. If you want to, well, the parts that we sculpted, that we chopped off, we can't bring those back, but the painted parts, you can actually remove acrylic paint with hot water, but the original paint is not going to be affected. So it is reversible in a way. Like I said, not the sculpting part. But hopefully, if you compare the before and the after, you'll be kind of satisfied with the results. I am, and I have these Care Bears now next to my newer Care Bears. I'll make a little tour of my room. But anyway, thank you so much. Thank you to the patrons especially for allowing me to do this. Without you, I wouldn't be able to have this channel. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you very soon for the next one. I keep hinting at what the next video is going to be, and then I change my mind and I do something else. But yeah, I'm not going to say what the next one is going to be, but it will be very soon. So hope you have a great week. See you very soon. Bye bye.